The biggest news out the weekend, in my opinion, was from the New Jersey Devils.
Yes.
And, sorry, not from New Jersey, from headlines on the New Jersey Devils. Despite the good job that Scott Fitzgerald has done. Tom. All right, hold on a minute. I'm looking up who Scott Fitzgerald is because I keep saying
I don't even
his
know
name.
who that is.
Scott Fitzgerald.
It sounds familiar, but
Scott Fitzgerald. Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald was an American writer. His novels depicted the flamboyance and access of the Jazz Age.
yeah, you definitely don't know. You just kind of threw that name together.
I swear, like, maybe I've read something of his before. Maybe from an English class.
The Great Gatsby? Is that what you read?
Oh, I have not read The Great Gatsby,
Then
but
I don't know what you've read.
I mean, hey, anyway, we'll continue though. So, from headlines, New Jersey Devils, despite the great job that Tom Fitzgerald has done as interim GM, they're still looking to to bring in a new general manager to replace Ray Shiro. And so far, we know that the first external candidate that they have actually went and interviewed, they will continue to do this over the summer, by the way, but first person they've externally interviewed is Mike Gillis. Funny enough, it was Friedman who reported this on headlines.
Yeah.
Who, of course, as we know, has apparently a close relationship with Mike Gillis.
Does he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, Freeman's got crap for it before. It's the weirdest thing. Everyone just forgets about Mike, that Elliot Freeman is a legitimate, one of the best reporters in the business, but they're like, oh, Mike Gillis, because he's such a controversial figure.
Do you know who he is? He is the uncle of a professional hockey player. Could you tell me who that professional hockey player is?
Can you tell me what team?
The New York Islanders.
Ooh, he's an uncle of someone on the island. What position?
No, I can't tell you that.
They don't have a Gillis on their team, do they? Eberle.
No.
Who?
Adam Pelech.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Ah, small world. Shows how your game isn't growing, that it's the same family bloodlines. But anyway, of course, this guy, Mike Gillis, for those of you that don't know, was a big part of those old Vancouver teams. A controversial figure. Apparently he has been traveling around the world researching sports management. And I guess kind of finding himself. And I guess we've heard his name a little bit more over the past few years. So I wonder, and we'll talk about maybe some other people that could possibly take the job. What are your thoughts on Mike Gillis?
I think it's an interesting route to go. I think there's a couple candidates that I would have rather than choose or potentially choose. Number one is, why don't you just keep Tom Fitzgerald? Like, I think the work he's done so far, if you want to look at it that way, he's traded Wayne Simmons.
Yeah, somehow.
Traded Sammy Vatanen.
Great return, even though he was hurt. You don't see that very often. Blake Coleman. More than Shiro got for Taylor Hall.
Controversial, but sure.
Fact.
Questionable.
Sure. But he's been good.
I think it's something they should look at. Another name, how about Martin Brodeur?
Apparently he doesn't want it, though.
Okay, if he does want it, that's a guy I would look at. You know, he spent time in St. Louis, I believe, in upper management.
Yeah, for a bit.
Moved to New Jersey in upper management. I think that's a route they might want to go. It's also a Devils legend.
You know what worries me about Brodeur, though?
Tell me.
He's done work with Hockey Canada. And those guys, it's a boys' club.
I know.
Bill Peters is a Hockey Canada guy. Mike Babcock, a Hockey Canada guy.
But are they part of the same group of people is the question.
They're a very tight-knit group. They're notorious for that.
I know, but at some point, you look at Martin Brodeur and say, okay, he's a Devils legend.
Yeah.
That would look very good.
I'd rather see him behind the office than in more enterprise commercials.
That is true.
Those are brutal. Oh, I agree, by the way, with Brian Burke saying that the cup should never be in a commercial. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. Do you have any other names, potentially, for the Devils GM?
I had one as a joke because they picked a Vancouver guy, but I can say it if you want.
Yeah, I would love.
Dave Notice.
I almost put him on my list of guys, but thought, yeah, no.
I don't have any other names.
No? Then I'll read you mine, because I have quite a few.
Okay.
Just because I would be amazed if this guy is still where he is come the summertime. Jason Bottrell of the Buffalo Sabres.
Okay, I see where you're going. I don't know if that's the route they're gonna go. Simply because he was put in a position to rebuild the team, and really has not done the greatest of jobs.
Also, I think a big thing we should try and remember talking about all this is the Devils seem like an organization kind of like Carolina, that it won't be one guy, but it will be a committee.
In what way?
That I don't. It sounds like Shiro closed himself off at the end. We've heard from people like Friedman and Merrick on 31 Thoughts, and who is the analytics guy that they hired?
Oh boy,
it's on the tip of my tongue. Of course, he's a beauty.
I'll get it.
Merrick loves talking.
Tyler Dello.
Tyler Dello. You've got Tyler Dello, the weird relationship the analytics department seems to have with the Devils going directly to the owner. Sounds like the owner kind of likes to be involved. Sounds exactly like Carolina. I think a big part will have to be a guy who is able to talk, communicate. I think that's a big part of this. My second name, and we're going to talk about this guy a little later. Mark Bergevin.
Wow, I did not think you were going to say that.
We're going to talk about a big interview with him. And in this big interview he had members of the Canadians, like, public relation and law. Like, the Canadians, like, media team, like, head of that, and the head of their legal department with him for an interview. So I see that, I'm like, oh dear. It's that serious now, are we?
Oh, Lord.
So I think, I don't know. I'm watching out for Mark Bergevin. I think he's a contradiction to what I just said about being open. Bergevin strikes me as Bergevin used to be very friendly, and then he grew his beard out, and it's like, oh crap, he's terrifying.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
How about
Brian Burke?
I don't know why I put Ray Shero on this list.
How about Brian Burke?
No, I didn't. No, I have Dale Talon of Florida, because I think. How long can he continue to have a chance in Florida? Because in the same year you give $70 million to a goaltender, all of a sudden they want to cut salary. I don't imagine that Dale Talon will be around there much longer.
I wonder. I like the idea. I wonder if Florida pushes the button on getting rid of Dale Talon, because what does that do? And he's a great coach, but what does that do with Joel Quenneville?
That's
true.
true.
You bring your guy in. Dale Talon brings his guy in first year, and you fire the general manager.
It's not first year.
Joe Quenneville.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Talon. No, Talon's been there for ages.
No, I know. Joe Quenneville, this is his first year.
Yes.
Right? What does that mean for him? Because general managers always like to bring in their own coach.
I think it's different with Quenneville because it's Joel Quenneville. Isn't he the second winningest coach in history?
I'm not entirely sure. I can find out.
And he has 3 cups. I think that just speaks for itself more about Quenneville. I think it's different from, let's say, a Bruce Boudreau who somehow survived up to his 3rd GM in that. So
that's second most wins.
Second most wins. How far is he behind Bowman?
I'll tell you. Give me 30 seconds.
But it's funny to me that I say it's not funny. I just think it's a different situation.
321 games.
320 behind Scotty Bowman.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How about this is a guy we always hear about, L.A. Mike Fuda. For a guy who I hear his name a lot, I know nothing about this dude.
Neither do I.
But you look at what L.A. has done with their farm system, the draft picks, all that. I think Mike Fuda would be a nice little addition.
I don't mind that.
How about we're
Mark
watching
Hunter.
them play?
How about Mark Hunter? I'm just throwing names out
I
here
thought of Mark Hunter. I'm like, no. How about we're
That's
watching?
That's why he's in an NHL GM, right?
No, he's not. Go back to London.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
Go back to
That's
London
what
where you're
been telling me.
where you're illegally drafting teenagers in the OHL.
I forgot.
Allegedly.
Everyone's been telling me that he's an NHL GM. I must have been mistaken.
How about we're watching his old team play right now? Imagine if you didn't have, instead of a meddling owner, understanding one, a group committee. Ron Hextall. You don't have a pushy ownership like New Jersey doesn't seem like it has a terrible ownership, but they're involved. And Ron Hextall,
I don't mind that.
You don't?
I don't mind that at all. I think Ron Hextall's only issue in Philadelphia was that he didn't bring up Carter Hart. Other than that, I have no issues with what he did.
So we talk about
I don't think I do.
A partnership. This is a guy who has stepped aside as a GM and has worked closely with Vegas and Kelly McCrimmon. And if Vegas were to win this year, what if George McPhee got another shot at starting another team?
I don't think so. I think he stays in Vegas.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't see why he would want to move.
My last name then. And I think I've gone outside the box for this. And I think for New Jersey to pull this off, they need to fork out the cash. Because the team you're trying to take this guy from is going to match your offer no matter what.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Former member of the Canucks and the Arizona Coyotes.
Okay.
Lawrence Gilman.
Oh, I think it really goes with the, you bring in Tyler Dello. I think it kind of goes that way. What he's doing with Dubas. I don't know if Gilman is the one, if he runs the AHL team, or if that's Brandon Pridham. But I like that move either way. I don't think it's gonna happen because Toronto's just gonna throw ridiculous money at it.
That's the thing. New Jersey have to be willing to fork out the cash for it.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
It is. A lot of those guys we just mentioned were previous GMs, but Gilman
is the general manager of the Marlies.
And for anyone saying what are the Marlies, they just lost everything. They lost their head coach and all their players.
That is right. You say that, and I guess maybe we'll bring it up in the next part when we talk about Toronto. But I think that's a thing that a lot of people aren't talking about. Is the Marlies aren't doing as well as they have been, but think about over the last 2 years, they've literally lost everyone.
Yeah. But hey, New Jersey, Lawrence Gilman. I think even if, like you, maybe not going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were whispers.
Oh, for sure.
Because, of course, I think there's obviously the attractiveness of Toronto, but remember when Colorado were poking at Dubas? It sounds like Dubas, if Lou had given him permission, there's a legit chance that he could have gone, because what people need to remember is it's still a job.
Let's
but then
just
again,
be clear, it wasn't Lou making that decision. It's very clearly that it was Brendan Shanahan making that decision. I'm just mentioning.
Okay, then that's my mistake.
No, it's fine.
But at the same time, it's, hello, I'm Toronto. Would you like $20 million?
Right.
You see, the Raptors just won a deep playoff run.
Else.
So MLSC has a few extra $1 million to throw around.
Exactly.